It's time for Tech 24, and in this edition, the law is finally catching up with social media. This week, a California jury found Meta and Google liable for addicting a child. On Tuesday, the French Senate will vote to ban under 15s from social media, with other countries making similar plans. So, is humanity saved, or are things more complicated? Peter O'Brien, our tech editor, is going to discuss that.
Hi, Catherine.
What makes this verdict different?
Well, this isn't just the $6 million in damages that were awarded after victim Kaylee GM argued that Instagram and YouTube harmed her mental health as a child. No, it's much more about the precedent. The victim's lawyers say, pending appeal, of course, this is just the first in what will be a flood of similar cases. They've got thousands like them on file, and what we know is that this now sets in legal stone the fact that these platforms are designed to be addictive, and that companies like Meta knew this. The lawyers say this is just the first chink in their armor, but more will come.
Just giving an amount, saying that their conduct was worthy of being punished, is amazing. We've already got thousands of these lawsuits on file. I'm sure there will be a boatload more, and this is the tip of the spear.
Now, you might have seen the headlines comparing this to the reckonings on big tobacco, or perhaps even big pharma and the opioid crisis. But let's just screw our heads back on a little bit here, because, smoking kills around half of its long-term users. We know that opioids cause serious addiction and serious withdrawal symptoms. To be honest, the research on social media is nothing like this level of clear in terms of proven harm. Arguably the most influential person in this whole space around social media and harms is a man called Jonathan Haidt. Now, he published the book The Anxious Generation, and on this verdict, he said, I think humanity has a chance. Now, he likes this kind of headline-grabbing statement, but look, there is some agreement that on the extremes, when people use it loads and they're already predisposed to have mental health conditions, well, yes, it could well be harmful. But apart from that, the jury is still very much out scientifically. I mean, on the one hand, you've got France's health and safety agency saying, yes, it can cause self-image problems, sleeping problems, cyberbullying. But you've also got major studies like the one in JAMA, like the one in the Journal of Public Health, that say, actually, the causal relationship is negligible, and one of them even says that kids who use social media to a moderate degree actually have positive effects because, they're kids and they're doing what everyone else is doing. So it's interesting that we're now at the point where we're seeing verdicts like this, and we're seeing laws like the one that's being prepared in France banning social media. A number of other countries are hoping to do the same. Jonathan Haidt actually said recently that he met with Emmanuel Macron twice to call for such a ban, and yet his research has been widely disputed in academic circles.
Now, these verdicts in the U.S., they're only going to give more political momentum to crackdowns and whatnot.
Yeah, exactly. So I spoke to someone in the French government who says they're going very fast on this law to ban social media for under 15s. They said they're going to fulfill Macron's wish of having it in place by September. And if we look at the timeline here, so on Tuesday, the Senate is set to vote on their version of the law, which diverges from the lower house's version. So the Senate's version calls for a two-tiered system. You have some apps which are completely banned, and then all the other apps will require parental consent. Now, once the two chambers have come to an agreement, if the Senate does approve their law, which they're likely to, then we still have to wait for the EU to kind of wave it through, and this could take months. So September is looking very ambitious, and even then it might not happen at all, because France already has a law on its books requiring parental consent for social media for kids, and actually the EU said that this was not applicable with their laws, so it could not be enforced. So although my source says they're working very closely with Brussels on this new version, there's nothing guaranteed yet, Catherine.
So while we might be seeing more legislation, social media is not going away, is it?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, this is not, I don't think, the beginning of the end of social media, which is what a lot of the headlines might suggest. This is a lot more complicated than simply, banning cigarette advertising. We've seen through the rollout of the ban in Australia, lots of difficulties in actually maintaining that age verification system at scale. There's also the fact that some of the platforms where the most extreme harms are happening, like on gaming platforms, are just flying under the radar and they're not addressed by these laws at all. So we're going to learn a lot from these experiments, but they do remain experiments fundamentally. And as for what the courts are doing, of course, it's a very good thing that platforms are now being held to account for their addictive systems that are harming the most vulnerable. But that's a very different question from these blanket bans, Catherine.
And now, Peter, there's also misinformation on social media,
Yeah,
and
of course.
that's been disruptive. Is there any reckoning for that here, or?
Well, we'd certainly like to see a reckoning for that, given that we're a TV channel. But that aside, I did see an interesting bit of work in the Financial Times over the last few hours, which points out that while social media draws people closer to more extreme political views because of its engagement algorithm and the fact that it loves clickbait, the next big media landscape, which is likely AI, is very different. So when AI gives you information, because it is, it's wanting always to give the most accurate answer, and because it's digested so much of human knowledge, it tends to be a lot more moderate and a lot less extreme than social media in terms of representing political opinions. So there we go. Perhaps a more positive future there, although there have been lots of counter arguments to that article as well that you'll have to check out online.